Welcome to Community Forum, a community service of CAN TV. I'm your host, Juan Carlos Hernandez. Our guest is Kris Smart from the organization Girls on the Run. It is a nationally recognized program that helps girls between the ages of 8 and 13 learn life skills through running. Let's learn about this program. And welcome, Kris.
Thanks.
It's great to have you here. This is really an interesting program to me because its focus is on running, but obviously it's a lot more than running.
Oh, it is. Running is the medium that we use to actually teach life lessons to the girls so that they can build healthy relationships, nutrition skills, fitness skills, but also build their self-esteem and so that they can live happy lives.
That's great. Tell me about the history of it. As we were talking before the show, you said that Chicago has one of the largest or the largest council in the country. But how did this program come about? Where did it start? And how did it arrive here to Chicago? If you can just give me some of that history, please.
Well, it was started by Molly Barker in North Carolina, in Charlotte actually, in 1996. And she really wanted a way to teach girls, how to have healthy self-esteem, healthy lives. And she herself was a runner. She is a runner and a triathlete. She's an Ironman.
Wow.
So she, with the background in, in social development and childhood development and then also running, she developed this curriculum and started it really small in Charlotte. Runner's World found out about it and did a feature on her, just a little box in Runner's World in 1998, and some women here in the Chicagoland area saw the box and said, you know what, let's do it. Let's figure out how to create this program here in Chicago. And so they started it at Burley Elementary in 1998. And Molly actually came up from Charlotte and taught these 5 women here in Chicago how to start and how to train and how to coach. So, and from there, in 1998, it's blossomed into about 300 schools for our spring season and about 100 for our fall.
Wow. 300 schools here in Chicago and the suburbs.
Right. So actually our council is 7 counties surrounding Cook.
Wow.
Like Cook and the surrounding counties. So we're in Kendall and Kankakee and Will and Kane and DuPage, Lake and Cook. So all of those.
So those women from Burley Elementary were the first to start it here in Chicago, and then it just
grew. Took on like wildfire.
Wow.
In the last 5 years, we've over doubled our impact in the Chicagoland area. And so we've really extended our reach into the suburbs as well. And so, whereas we used to really consider ourselves a Chicago-based, now we consider ourselves a regional organization. And we want to make sure that we're providing the best service for our girls in Lake County and DuPage and wherever they might live. Okay. So our girls are urban and they're rural and they're suburban. So they all have their unique little issues that they have to deal with as they're growing up. And so, but what we find is that the lessons that we teach apply whether or not you are growing up, on a farm in Kendall County, or whether you're growing up in Edgewater or in Englewood. The lessons apply.
The lessons apply, and like you said, this organization spread like wildfire here in Chicago. But you said it's also national and international. Right. Right. What countries is it in?
It's predominantly the United States and Canada. Okay. We're hoping to bring it across the pond to the United Kingdom in the coming seasons, but we're about 220 different different councils across the United States and Canada right now. Some of them are tiny. Some of them are like 2 or 3 coaches serving 20 to 40 girls, and others are like us, and we serve about 8,000 girls a year.
8,000 girls.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hopefully 9,000 this year.
That'd be great news. More work for you, but it's good work.
It's good work.
Yeah. So you've mentioned it a couple of times, life lessons. And you work with 2 different age groups primarily. Tell me about what you do with the younger group, what ages you cover, and what are the life lessons you're hoping to show and instill in these girls.
So Girls on the Run curriculum really is for 3rd through 5th graders. Okay. And it's sort of that elementary school age where they're really figuring out how their relationships are. They're figuring out how to stand up for themselves. They're starting to become aware of the messages that media sends them. They're trying to figure out how to stand up for themselves. There's gossip, bullying, all that sort of stuff begins to emerge in that 3rd, 4th grade year. And
what are some of those lessons or messages the media tries to send to these girls?
About thinness, about having to have the right hair, having to have the right clothes, you know, about how girls are supposed to act, the idea that girls should, you know, be a people pleasers rather than stand up for themselves. So we talk a lot about, well, what is this advertisement really message it's trying to send you, and what does that mean, and do you have to believe it, and what does the advertiser want? And so it's interesting to watch girls kind of figure out, oh, well, they want my money. I guess that's,
wow.
They're trying to convince me that I should have this toy because they would like my money, or they're trying to convince me that I should eat Pop-Tarts or something like that because they want to sell this product. And so what the idea that advertising isn't, they're not the things that people say then are not always true. So they start to question that, and in that then they can kind of question other messages as well. And
So it's critical thinking.
It's true, it is critical thinking.
Wow, that's awesome.
So they do, they think of that. And my daughter, when she participated, she was like, they're just trying to get your money, da 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 da. And which is maybe because we started that media awareness with Ella when she was maybe 2 or 3. We started asking for things off TV. So yeah.
Wow. And so this is done in a classroom with these girls, or how does it work exactly? I'm sure parents that don't know about it, or teachers that might be curious about it, want to know how that works.
Well, how it works is that the girls meet twice a week for practice, and practice is 90 minutes. They're led by coaches, so those coaches are volunteers. We've got over 1,000 volunteer coaches throughout the Chicagoland area, and those are caring women and some men who decide to help us implement the curriculum. We train them on it, they're background checked, they're CPR certified, and they follow the lessons and in either a classroom or outside, depending on what space is available. Here in Chicago, a lot of practices happen in gyms, happen in community centers or community rooms, common areas. As the weather starts to get a little bit warmer, then they go outside. And so by the end of the season, the spring season, most of the lesson is done outside. But in the beginning, you'll find a lot of folks who are still inside. So the lesson and the curriculum is set up so that there's discussion, there's an introduction of what we're talking about that day, there's an activity, a short activity to kind of get them started on it, a little bit longer discussion around what the topic really means, another activity, and then a workout. And so the workout could be a game. It could be relay, especially in the beginning when some girls, maybe they can't walk, they can't run a full block.
By
the end, they'll do a 5K, but you got to get there.
Right, you have to build up slowly.
You build up slowly so that they feel that sense of accomplishment.
So it's twice a week, 90 minutes.
Yeah, each.
And usually after school.
After school, yeah. Some before school, but most are after school.
Okay, and you mentioned something that a lot of these councils are volunteer run. Okay, so how does let's say I'm a parent or a teacher and I want to volunteer. I just go to your website.
You can. If you're within our service area, just go to our website. We are accepting applications for new sites. We'd love to have new sites all over that 7-county reach. And then if you're outside that 7-county reach, go to our national organization's website, and they'll be able to help you find a council near you or help you through the process of starting a council yourself if you want.
So do you also have to go through the background check and all of that if you want to start a council?
Yeah.
It's always safety first for the
safety first.
Yeah, for the kids. Wow. So this is these are the lessons for the 3rd to 5th graders. This is how you start, and it's done throughout the year, right? Throughout the school year.
We have 2 seasons, so we've got a fall season and a spring season.
And the fall season, they start outside, I imagine, right?
We start outside for the fall and may end up inside.
May up.
Depends on how the fall turns out.
And at the end of every season, there's a culmination.
Yes,
Okay,
the 5K.
The 5K.
The Girls on the Run 5K.
And here in Chicago, where does that 5K take place?
For our fall, the 5K is at Montrose Harbor. And then for the spring, we've got 3 5Ks. One's in Vernon Hills, another one's in DuPage County, and then the third that serves Chicago is in Grant Park.
Wow. So
yeah.
And coordinating all this must be...
It's quite the job.
I imagine so. So let's say I want to support Girls on the Run. I don't have any kids. I'm not involved with any schools. And I would love to just become part of the organization in some sense, support. Can people just support you through your website as well?
Absolutely. We, more than 50% of the girls that we serve come from low-income families, and so from schools that where over 80% of the girls are either on free or reduced lunch.
Oh, wow.
So we subsidize that entire experience for a lot of those girls and provide financial assistance. A lot of those schools, no one pays anything to participate in Girls on the Run.
Wow, really?
We want to make sure that the program is available to all girls, regardless of socioeconomic status. So we make sure that we are engaging girls with more resources, those middle income resources as well as low resources.
Okay.
So you could donate, you could come to our gala, you could run the marathon on our behalf and raise money. And we'll be at the marathon this year cheering people on.
The Chicago Marathon.
The Chicago Marathon, yeah.
Okay.
The Bank of America Chicago Marathon.
And what if people just want to run with you on your race
Go
days?
ahead. Our 5K is open to the public, and so anyone can participate. But then a lot of girls who maybe for one reason or another, mom or dad is unable to run with them for the 5K. So the girls work up to that experience of setting that goal of running a 5K, and then they have that experience, but for some reason they don't have anyone to run with them. Every girl runs with someone so that I know where that child is. So be a running buddy. You could run with a girl and watch her achieve that goal. For those runners, they register at our website for the 5K, and then we run a background check on them as well, because if I'm going to place my daughter with someone who I don't know, I want to make sure we run that safety precaution.
Okay, so but it is open to anybody, but they have to go through if they just want to be a running buddy.
They go through a background check.
But I'm sure you have people from the general community.
If you want to volunteer, we'd love to have you as a volunteer as well. The 5Ks engage about 500 people in making it happen. So,
wow.
And that's everyone from people helping to make sure that you're parked, to making sure that you have the hydration, to working our finish line or our start line, handing out cups of water and cheering along the way. So there's a lot of logistics that go into that experience in order to make it safe for the girls. There's a lot more safety precautions that go into a Girls on the Run 5K than maybe your neighborhood 5K.
Oh wow, that's awesome. And this is it just sounds like an amazing program. And for a girl in 3rd grade to start with this and then continue on through 8th grade, but obviously the lessons change once they get into 6th grade. The body changes, the mind changes. You're growing up a lot faster. Tell me how the focus changes for that age group, 6th to 8th grade.
So the 6th to 8th grade curriculum is called Girls on Track, and which is a part of Girls on the Run. It has the same concepts, it's just for older girls, because older girls, what's appropriate for an 8th grader is not necessarily age appropriate for a 3rd grader.
Right.
So we talk a lot about partner relationships. So girls are becoming romantically interested in that sort of area of their life. So we talk about how do you apply standing up for yourself and conflict resolution and leading a healthy life and having a healthy relationship to a partner relationship. We also get a little bit more into media awareness. We talk about eating disorders.
Right.
We go a little bit deeper into the idea of a queen bee and gossip and bullying and in school. And have some really deep conversations about that maybe in the 3rd grade they're not ready to have. We also hit a little bit deeper into substance abuse and tobacco use. The questions that a girl has as an 8th grader is very, very different than what somebody would even come up with in the 3rd grade.
Right.
So those conversations are critically important. We also do a really great lesson on mindfulness and peacefulness and really figuring out how to handle stress. So the girls are asked to run for 30 minutes without talking, and they're allowed to talk every other time. But in this particular lesson, it can be really difficult to run and when you're used to chatting and just being in your own mind. And then we talk about, okay, so what did you think about and what did you work through? And we find that just like an adult, just like I run so that I can, kind of work through some issues or stress or just find peacefulness, that they found that too, and they can see how that connection of physical activity and mental health can come hand in hand.
Wow. So give me an example of how some of the girls, the 6th to 8th graders, have responded to these lessons. I'm sure that sometimes they don't get all of this in school.
Right. I was at a site visit with our Girls on Track a while back, last spring, and we did that exact lesson.
Okay.
And then the end of the lesson, they actually do a meditation. And so they went into a meditation, and a girl fell asleep. We're like, "You're asleep, how did you, you're at school, how did you fall asleep?" And through that, we discovered from her that she stays up all night playing video games.
Oh, wow.
And so then we talked to her about how that physically made her feel, and how she said she could never meditate because she doesn't have the time, because she's either studying at school or playing video games, and she doesn't even have time to sleep. So we talked about is that sustainable,
Right.
is that healthy, and at the end she kind of came to the conclusion that maybe she should back up her bedtime and start to sleep more, and what that would feel like. And that it's a little weird to fall asleep at 4 o'clock in the afternoon among
Right.
strangers.
Right.
So
Definitely.
she helped with that. We also had a girl who had achieved her goal of the 5K, and she just said, I'd love to run, my next goal is an 8K. And the Shamrock Shuffle was coming up, so
That's in March usually?
yeah, and we had met with her in early March, and so we helped her get an entry. She ended up running the Shamrock Shuffle, and so
Wow.
she just continued. She's not interested in being a track star. She's not interested in team sports. This particular girl, many girls do become interested though.
Wow.
And she just runs because she loves it and she finds it peaceful. So.
By now, I'm sure you've had girls who are now women
Yeah.
who have come back and shared something about the lessons they've learned through Girls on the Run. Can you give me an example of that? Because I'm finding it quite interesting and actually quite inspiring to hear that all of these lessons and this work you're doing with girls that in so many aspects have more difficulty, I think, than boys growing up.
So we have, through our national organization and also here in Chicago, we have a wide alumni network. And so if you did Girls on the Run here in Chicago and way back in the day, we'd love to hear from you. So, but many of the girls who went through the program then come back and talk about how it helped them in college, and it helped them get into college and feel so they have the self-esteem in order to really go for it and achieve their goals. But then they talk about professionally how learning how to stand up for yourself or to articulate what you're feeling or thinking, to negotiate conflict, to negotiate different types of relationships, has helped them in business, has helped them achieve their goals, has helped them really even in meetings. And we hear that a lot from our coaches, from our moms as well, in our board, where they say, like, I use the lessons that we teach the girls in meetings, in the boardroom, in negotiating, so that they're able to really articulate how they feel. They're able to frame it in a positive way and get to an end point where it's a positive win-win for everyone. So we hear that a lot from those girls, and they end up coaching. So there's more than one girl who's grown up, become a woman, and graduated college, and then said, you know what, I want to coach, and then the lessons continue.
And I'm sure by now you have mothers bringing their daughters.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've reached 35,000 girls just here in Chicago.
Just here in Chicago.
Yeah, and well over 100,000 nationally and internationally.
Wow. Like I said, it's very inspiring. And I'm sure you've inspired other organizations to join you, other nonprofits that might want to lend their hand. Who are some of the organizations that have collaborated with you?
We collaborate a lot with school districts.
Okay.
So we're in over 200 Chicago public schools. We're in public schools throughout, the whole Chicagoland area. Park districts. We've got some really wonderful partners from running community and running stores. CARA, Chicago Area Runners Association, is a wonderful collaborator of ours. And then we're really fortunate to have a great relationship with both Fleet Feet and the Runner's Edge, who help provide shoes, who help provide financial assistance and help us with our races. In addition to that, a lot of volunteer service organizations step forward to help us as well, to get folks involved. and that includes colleges. So there's a lot of colleges and universities, a few sororities that also help.
Any older folks that come out and help?
Yeah, there's some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like old runners, and they want to contribute.
Grandmas on the run come out?
Grandmas come, yeah.
No. Okay. This is really awesome work, and I'm sure you have like you said, you have different seasons. You have your fall season, your spring season. Tell me about the major events you have as an organization here in Chicago, just so our audience has that in mind in case they want to participate or come out and volunteer.
The biggest volunteer events for us are probably the 5K series.
Okay.
So that's Montrose Harbor in the fall, then also the spring series, which is Vernon Hills, Grant Park, and then DuPage County.
Okay.
Beyond that, we also have a Sparkle and Shine Gala, which is each November at the Drake Hotel.
Okay.
And then we have a spring dinner as well in the spring, which is
Okay.
more sit down. The gala is more fun, cocktails, dress up. It's sparkly, like band, that sort of thing. And the spring dinner is a chance to actually hear the girls talk to you about what the experience has meant to them.
Oh, really? So they sit down at the...
You sit down and the girls speak. They get up on stage, and we had 2 fifth graders last year who were from completely opposite areas of Chicago community. One was from Lake County, and the other one was from South Shore, and they got up and they spoke eloquently about what the program meant to them and how they themselves changed. So those are the big ones. Other than that, we are always looking for runners to help with our charity fundraising team through the Bank of America Chicago Marathon, our Soulmates program.
Oh, Soulmates. Soul as in S-O-L-E.
Soul as in S-O-L-E.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great plan words. We're getting close to the end of the show, and I'm curious as to how, this is a little more personal, how you've grown and you've changed in your tenure at Girls on the Run. What's it meant to you as a runner and as a mother and as a woman?
I really feel that I'm enriched by the lessons, and I'm enriched by the opportunity that I have as a volunteer. In addition to being the ED, I am also a site coordinator for my daughter's school and a coach, and that experience really changed who I was and how I felt about raising my daughter and about her friends. I've learned a huge amount about them as well, and really took the lessons to heart through that experience. I think that I'm more patient, and I think that I am more willing to listen, and I think that to hear other ideas than maybe before. I'm more relaxed. Running for me was something that I came to late in life. I didn't think it was for me, so I was the girl in my team who didn't think it was for her and was convinced that her legs just didn't work like anyone else's legs, and she was special in that way. And I was her, so I could really identify with her, feeling the odd man out. But then in my late 30s, I started running, whereas before I was convinced I had bad knees, and there's nothing wrong with my knees, they're fine. And through running, I really found a peacefulness and a centeredness that I didn't have before, and that doesn't work in the gym. The gym doesn't get there for me, but the miles do. And so through that exercise, I was able to run a few marathons slowly, very slowly, and then kind of bring that thought and that peacefulness and mindfulness to my daughter. And every once in a while, we'll run together, she and I. We'll do a couple of laps throughout our neighborhood and around our local park, and just talk. And those conversations don't happen any other place than when we're running together.
Wow, that is also inspiring to hear your growth and the growth of your relationship with your daughter. Well, thanks so much for coming today and sharing a little bit of yourself and a lot of what Girls on the Run with us today.
Sure.
And to you, thank you for joining us. Community Forum is a community service of CAN TV. If your nonprofit organization would like to work with CAN TV, call 312-738-1400 and ask for nonprofit services. Tune into Community Forum for local issues and concerns every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. on CAN TV 21. I'm Juan Carlos Hernandez. Thank you for joining us.